parents here in the audience. And everyone take a second to thank their teacher for bringing them today. First up, we have Ayushi Tripathi. Hello, hi. First of all, I'd like to give a big shout out to Mrs. Shermer's 6th period class. Wow, didn't expect that. And also to my parents who took time off work for this. So I think they're having me go first because my piece is kind of like depressing, so that's just like a forewarning. So let's get into it. Pride, given and carried. My parents named me while keeping in mind the flatness of the American English tongue, the one that doesn't stretch so easily around Hindi vowels. My name means one who lives a long life. Variations of it can be found in blessings passed from the older and respected to their young. Ayushman Bhava, long live. Carrying a family name means so much more than a word. It's bearing the pride, the reputation, and the legacy of your ancestors, a legacy my parents have tried their best to teach me. When our family went to visit India in 2015, my dad did his best to immerse me into the culture I've been so isolated from. A particularly stressful instance of this immersion entailed me going up to a street vendor with my poorly accented Hindi and buying some toothpaste. The vendor was laughing at me with little pretense of subtlety, but that minty fresh taste after days of airline travel left me feeling like the winner in that round. I've always been a little wary around my extended family, partially due to my embarrassing lack of fluency and partially out of fear for being judged as an ABCD, American-born confused desi. Regardless, my dad told me, spend time with your dadi. You can learn a lot from her. I tried, I really did, but my grandmother was intimidating to me, grizzled and tough as nails. I was but a weak 8th grader, making half-hearted attempts to help out around the house before I scurried away to a corner with decent Wi-Fi. Needless to say, my dad was less than thrilled with my efforts. A year or so later, after struggling with heart problems, my grandmother passed away. And my first thought was of my dad, who lost his father only 3 years previously. I've never seen him cry, and all the way to India, I didn't see him shed a single tear, but the pain I saw on his face the day before we arrived in his hometown haunts me still, a pain that left me at a loss for how to help. Despite being in mourning, my dad took me with him to learn more about his family's past as we zipped across Varanasi on a scooter, running errands and setting affairs in order as dust kicked up into my eyes. He told me stories about his youth, his siblings playing in gardens and alleys, his favorite sweet shops and food vendors, and I did my best to soak it all in. But perhaps the most memorable stories he told me were of his parents. My father worked long hours to provide for us, he told me. It fell upon my mother to do everything else. My dadi married young and raised 3 children, often on her own, doing her utmost to bring them up with the morals and values characteristic of the family name, sanskari. Through these stories, I gained a whole new dimension of respect for her, and the grizzled that I so often perceived in her took on a new meaning, resilient. On the day of our departure, we stood a ways away from the entrance, suitcases piled up by the door. My dad looked around, sighed, and I could see that pain in the creases of his eyes. I didn't know what to say to someone who has lost so much. So I said very quietly, "Your parents are proud of you." My father looked at me and he said, "No. I am proud of my parents." I can't heal a pain like that. I didn't know what to do then, and I don't know what to do now. But what I carry with me is not just the name Ayushi Tripathi, it is the resilience and strength of those who came before me. It's not simply my own life that stretches long, but the stories of the people that I descend from, their values and morals grown into my bones, and long will they live. Thank you. Give a warm welcome to Riley Corrigan.
I'd like to give a shout out to everyone at 6 Hour Lunch. They're really an amazing class. In all seriousness, no. I do appreciate all of the English teachers that have taken the time. So, let's get on with this. Normally, I bike to school. The sun, just peeking over the rugged houses, seems hesitant to start the day. But when the winter months come clawing into the world, and the sun stays hidden longer and longer, I retreat to the safety of my mom's car and get driven to school. On the days I'm not running around to get everything done, I take a slow half-hour walk home. It gives me time to think about the world, about life in general. These thoughts lead me to marvel at science I love the order, the logic, the infinite complexity that is embodied by the unchanging natural logic of real science. The concept that has me most intrigued has been probability and chaos theory. Probability, on one hand, lets math determine the likelihood of any outcome any event brings. We're all aware of the classic example of a person flipping a coin and knowing it has equal probability to land on heads or tails. But when they actually flip a coin, it will never be both heads and tails in equal proportions. It will be either heads or tails in a quantity of 100%. But why does a coin move to land on either side over the other? In the words of one particularly unfortunate Jurassic scientist, this is where we get to chaos theory. It assumes that the minute details that make up all of existence will create difference. In our coin example, the way the thumb flips the coin makes an enormous difference. The exact technique can never be replicated each time, so the same person flipping the same coin will get different results. For me, these minute details can be hard to understand, yet I can still quantify some of them. In the big picture, the minute details that make up all of existence can be categorized, juggled, stacked, and placed in calculated slots to create a whole beautiful world. Returning to our coin flipping friend, they could know everything about their thumb technique, the way the coin's weight alters its movements, even how a single air molecule slows down the coin's rotation. They could know exactly which side the coin would land on with perfect accuracy. But I will almost never know all the intersections of chance, all the matter that influences a single outcome. The coin flip could never be calculated with full confidence. I simply don't know everything required to do that. However, the universe does know everything, or well, the laws of physics do. These concepts are absolute pillars of reality. Once all the information is taken into account for one event, the outcome is self-evident. If one knew all the information for every event in the universe, one could predict future outcomes all the way till the end of time. The universe would seem a game of chess, galaxies as rooks, knights, bishops, and human civilization as a mere pawn. The power that can be gained through science and technology is limitless, and the fact that I will never be able to reach it is both frustrating and humbling. I make the most of what I can, of what I know, of what I can achieve. I maybe last until the end of it all, and look back seeing in hindsight what I could never see ahead. Then I will be gone, having acted out in the enormous play that is reality. Despite the fact that every action is understandable before it happens, I live in uncertainty. I know not what will be, and therefore am given the opportunity to make my own choices. Unburdened by the predestination that haunts a higher being. In my simplicity, I bring with me human ideas and concepts unique to my species, and I find beauty in them. It's amazing what you can think of by just taking 30 minutes out of a chilly winter day. Thank you, and next up is Shreya Mukherjee.
Hello, my name is Shreya. Just a shout out to my 6th period English class. And then also Nicole Suarez and Christina Chen. And then a special shout out to Alex Zed. And Fiona. Sorry, okay. So just a little bit of background about this piece. It was my personal statement for my college applications, and I only ever shared it with one other person, and then also like all the colleges who read it. And whenever people asked me about it, I always said it was really hard to explain unless I actually read the piece. So here it goes. Thank you. I drank in that expression of gratitude as if it were rainwater, the taste of which was long forgotten after a drought. However, my twinge of satisfaction was immediately followed by deep regret. I begrudgingly turned to look at my clock, only to confirm what I already knew. It was past midnight, and I had not started any of my homework. 3 grueling hours later, I fell into my pillow and drifted off to sleep. This treacherous routine was the result of a web I had woven for myself many years ago. I had attended 3 different elementary schools by the time I was 12 years old, so the ability to make friends was absolutely vital. I found that the quickest way to do so was to eradicate the word no from my vocabulary whenever someone asked for my help. My innate generosity appealed to others, and I quickly gained new friends, as well as the reputation of someone who was always available to help. However, my friendly disposition became an unlikely burden upon entering high school. In response to a more strenuous curriculum, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of text messages and emails requesting my help. By day, I led study sessions for my peers in the library, and by night, I headed Skype sessions helping fellow members of the debate team research assignments and arguments for upcoming tournaments. Each day, my routine became increasingly difficult. However, every encounter culminated with a sense of fulfillment and a smile. My friends' thankfulness invigorated me, filling me with the energy necessary to complete my own work. But one evening, after the cacophony of text alerts had played its final chords, I was left with only enough energy to trudge to bed and leave my own assignments for the following morning. I realized that the smiles that had once illuminated my face had dimmed, and it seemed as though my devotion to others no longer yielded the same level of appreciation. Unlike the sweet taste of gratitude that I had once enjoyed, this was a bitter pill to swallow. I discovered that as the years elapsed, my happiness had begun to rely on the appreciation from others. One night, for the first time in years, I decided to decline requests for help. While this move had liberated me, I entered an entirely different prison. As a result of not helping those around me, I did not receive any gratitude in return, leaving me feeling unfulfilled. Disappointed with my sudden selfishness, I shifted my sights beyond my current situation and towards the plan I had concocted years ago. My eagerness to help had originated as a means of making friends, but it had become an avenue through which I could satisfy my desire for appreciation. When I could no longer satiate that craving, my joy began to disappear. So, I made it my mission to retrace my steps and reclaim my happiness. I came upon the realization that my unhappiness manifested itself when I began to expect gratitude in exchange for my actions. While lamenting over a supposed lack of appreciation, I had lost sight of why I offered help in the first place. I offered help to those around me in order to make new friends. After making friends, I began receiving appreciation. However, whatever happiness I felt from the results of my help paled in comparison to the joy I received from the act of helping itself. I feel the most elation when I choose to live wholly in my actions rather than in anticipation of the results. While a token of gratitude for my help is welcomed, it is no longer expected. There are days when I falter, and a part of me yearns for more recognition. However, a larger part reminds me to pursue enjoyment in what I do, not what I may achieve. It is truly my pleasure. And I'd like to welcome Natasha Januszewska.
Hello, I'm Natasha, and I'm going to read a piece I titled Everything Now by me, but it's based on a song, one of my favorites. People say that the worst things in life are free, and most of the time you're dealing with it on your own. The idea that we have to be in a relationship to be happy in life is simply cruel, as if we have to find it because there's absolutely no way that we can already be complete on our own. The society forces us to believe that we're worthless alone. It's ridiculous, but we still fall for it. So many of the people that I know say that they want to be in love, but love isn't all rainbows. And don't get me wrong, you can love with all your heart, but loving someone the way I loved drains you. Sleeping does nothing because it's your soul that's tired. It's actually crazy how you can forgive the biggest mistakes because you love. You can be hurt over and over again, and the second they say they're sorry, you'll take them back because your brain cannot comprehend losing them. Sometimes we love how a person makes us feel. We love the idea of who they could become, not who they are. Finding someone you fall in love with can be the best feeling in the world, or it can crush you, heart and soul, and all of you will disappear in that feeling. I fell in love with the wrong person, and I didn't realize it until a year later when he broke my heart. You never know if the person you love is the one for you, and if they're not, and you let it grow and damage every single cell in your body, you hardly ever heal. It's basically like playing Russian roulette, but only one of the chambers is empty. Is it worth it to feel pain for so long for that one chance at happiness? I don't know. Would you take a bullet for every risk you take? Is it painful when you give all of you to someone who wasn't meant for you? It's lethal. Oh, those lonely nights thinking how you messed up, blaming yourself that it didn't work out when it wasn't supposed to. You wonder how can you ever trust again knowing how naive you were in the past. Seeing people fall in love all around you makes you even more devastated because that used to be you. And it doesn't truly get better, not for a long time. You are alone and in pain, spending every night crying yourself to sleep. It's chaotic. It turns everything you ever had or you thought you had around, and the whole time it hurts to breathe, to wake up, to brush your teeth, to eat, to talk. It hurts to hurt. It's dying but still being alive to witness it. When everything seems hopeless, when you've memorized the lyrics to every sad song possible, when you think that you're just not good enough because that one person doesn't want you, when you realize that you actually won every I love you more fight because you're the one that's still devastated while the other person is better than ever, when you think that you can never stop loving someone you once fell for, when you realize that they will never be a stranger to you, even if you try to fake it to seem stronger, you will always notice them when they walk into the room. You will always look for them in the crowd. Right when it seems like you can never move on and you will never stop hurting, that's when you start to move on. And don't get me wrong, moving on doesn't mean you don't care. You always will. It doesn't mean you're not sad anymore or you don't love them anymore. It means that it doesn't hurt as much as slicing you open anymore. You start to remember the bad memories. You stop blaming yourself for everything and see the things that you did right. You realize that you can't be mad about them being with someone else because we all are looking for our own happiness. Eventually, after all those hours you spent listening to breakup songs, you truly start to listen. You truly start appreciating music, poetry, art, and dance. Books have a whole new meaning, and school isn't as cruel as it used to seem. You finally start devoting yourself to the things that were already beautiful, but you couldn't notice them because you thought the world has ended. You realize that you are good enough, and what that person thinks doesn't matter because they are not your world anymore. And with time, it'll truly get better, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how lonely you may be, no matter how hopeless everything seems. And then, many months later, after realizing things about yourself you never dreamed of realizing, you are happy again. And I'm not talking about temporary happiness when you laugh at a joke your friend said or watch a funny movie. I'm talking about true happiness. When you smile with your eyes, your skin, toes, and lungs, and yes, even with your liver. All you see is everything now. Thank you. Up next is Ananya Singh.
I'm Ananya, and shout out to Mrs. Schomer's 6th period English class. This is a piece I wrote called My Family. I don't trust people very easily. Since day one, I've been very good at setting up boundaries, at separating myself, at staying in my comfort zone, at listening and letting other people do the talking. But this year something changed. I allowed myself to be a little vulnerable, opened up to more people, and showed a side of me I didn't know I had. I transformed from the girl who hides in her shell to one who loves being happy, has energy, and loves to make others smile. So what flipped the switch? From swim and dive. I clearly remember walking into my first day of practice in August of 2016. Just a freshman, I was terrified, thinking I wouldn't be fast enough, wouldn't have anyone to talk to, or wouldn't fit in. Little did I know it would be the exact opposite. I went home that day beyond excited to have been accepted into this community, and the excitement hasn't faded to this day. I was so happy to be at every practice, to meet new people, and be a part of this experience. But to me, it was still just a sport. It was fun, sure, but the focus was on what went on in the pool. People would tell me, be thankful for these 4 years. These people are like your family. They're your sisters. By no means did I not love the team, but it was still just a team. I was stunned by the bond and love I shared for my friends, but I struggled to find that stronger connection. I didn't understand that I needed to open myself up to this family, to love others so fiercely. I rarely spoke to upperclassmen, wouldn't express my thoughts, and allowed myself to blend into the background. My sophomore year, things changed slightly. I was there for my friends when they needed to talk, reassured them that their problems could be solved, and eased incoming freshman anxiety by telling them it would all be okay. But swimming was still just swimming, and practice was still just practice, something I feared more than I enjoyed. My friends changed, and I loved the friends I made, but I struggled to understand how this love expanded to the team. I said I loved the team, but my presence remained mostly unknown, and I remained mostly secluded, still the same quiet girl in the background. I became close friends with one senior, and as April rolled around and it came time to say goodbye, I remember her telling me, "You're such a good, spunky, smart person. Use your brain and your voice. You have to put yourself out there. Be more assertive, make yourself known, be a leader." Junior year. Right off the bat, things began a little rocky as I questioned my abilities and felt unconfident. My solution was to fake it till I made it. For the first time, I became open to becoming close with brand new people and made lots of different, very close friends. I forced myself to put myself out there, say what I felt, be loud, turn my happiness into infectious energy, and be someone who makes people feel loved. And for a while it worked. Making others happy made me happy, and that was enough. And then it all came crashing down. The energy ran out, the weight of expectation to be perfect pushed me under, and I fell down a hole I couldn't pull myself out of. I felt alone, unwanted, exhausted, and pushed myself into seclusion just as I had the past 2 years. But this time I wasn't allowed to. When I became vulnerable and felt alone, I found I had an army of people behind me, there to listen to me, love me, and pull me out of the hole I couldn't see the top of. The love I felt for the people around me was reciprocated, and in the darkest of times, I had people who refused to be pushed away. I had a family. It wasn't about the pool anymore. The pool was just what brought us together, our shared home. It was about the love we had for each other, the bonds we created, and the responsibility we shouldered to hold each other together. What is it about this team that makes me so passionate? The love we extend to each other. For weeks, I made a conscious effort to be the person who makes everybody feel like a somebody, to take on others' problems in order to stop thinking about my own, and to be the most selfless person I could. And I found when I became the person who couldn't hold themselves up and couldn't find any love for themselves, I had over 60 sisters to love me and convince me of my worth. The selflessness of these girls and the love they share for every member of our team is remarkable to me. No one is allowed to fall through the cracks because everybody deserves to be loved. It's okay to have baggage because our job is to hold each other's. The people on this team have made it okay for me to be who I am. It made me feel like I had a home at school. It made me feel so loved and have loved me for who I am. It's the never-ending love extended to me that has allowed me to be myself, has pulled me out of my shell, and has made me want to share this beautiful, infectious, all-encompassing love with everyone I can. The family I've become a part of is one that has changed me more than I know, and I will forever be grateful. Thank you, From Aquatics, for giving me a home and a family and teaching me to have the courage to be who I am. Up next is Allie Davis.
Hi guys, I'm Allie, and today I'm going to be speaking about something I wrote called A Message to Myself, I Am Enough. Beauty. One word, 2 syllables, millions of definitions. If you would define it in your own words, what would that look like? Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines it as the quality or aggregate of qualities in a person or thing that gives pleasure to the senses or pleasurably exalts the mind or spirit. 2 words, self-image. 2 words that mostly every girl and boy living on planet Earth in the 21st century know a lot about. Growing up in the era that we are in is not easy. We have grown up playing with Barbie dolls that have proportions that are impossible to hold a human being upright. But you are enough. If the classic Barbie doll were to be transformed to be a real woman, she would physically have to walk on her legs and her arms to be able to hold herself upright. We have grown up into thinking that this classic Barbie doll is a definition of beauty and how women should look like. But you are enough. Extremely skinny, tan, big boobs and butt, large hips, skinny waist. But beauty is not one size fits all. This creates the mindset of viewing beauty in a prejudiced way. Technology is all around us, displaying people that are not the real human being behind the screen. It has brought a new rush of issues into this world, one of which includes body image and self-image issues. But you are enough. Social media platforms such as Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, you name it, all display an unrealistic account of people's lives. People post what they want to post. They are not going to show you the bad side of their life because they don't want others to know about that. This creates a cycle of young girls and boys thinking that they are not worthy and that they are not good enough. But you are enough. Take a look at all the editing apps that are available to us at our fingertips now. Visco, Facetune, and Airbrush are just a few examples of the apps that people surround their Instagram feeds around. A few clicks to the perfect body that you have always dreamed of. But you are enough. People use these apps to modify their bodies to something that they realistically cannot do, whether that be making themselves taller or shorter, their arms skinnier, or their hips and butt bigger. Even though some of those things are achievable, people would rather use an app to modify their insecurities in the matter of a few minutes. But you are enough. In the line at the store, if you look to your left or to your right, there's mostly always magazines with men and women on the front covers who appear to have the perfect bodies. That is not because they're in the gym 24/7 or eat the strictest diet. It is because they Photoshop all over them to make them seem unrealistically perfect. But you are enough. What that photo doesn't show is all the things on that model's body that our society thinks is not beautiful. Stretch marks, fat, pimples, scars, blackheads. Self-image is something most people deal with because it has been engraved in our minds to think that the most beautiful body is someone who is skinny, tall, has a small waist, but big hips, and many more things. But you are enough. Every body is beautiful no matter what shape, size, height, color, or structure. We're all unique in our own ways, and our society has to change and realize that that is what makes each and every one of us different. If we all strive to look like that model you saw on the magazine cover, we would never look like them because they were built differently than us. We've been growing up in an age that says you have to look a certain way to be validated, successful, have a lot of friends. The list goes on and on. But you are enough. This is one of the most unrealistic things. We're all different and unique in our own ways and can never strive to be another person because we are already our own. You are beautiful no matter what you think you are and what you think you see in the mirror because you are enough. Change that self-defeating mindset into more of a self-complimenting mindset. You are perfect just the way you are, and don't let society or anyone else tell you that you are not, because you are enough. We need to redefine the word beauty. Beauty means embracing the flaws and insecurities you have. Beauty means to own how you look and own your personality. Beauty means being you. And so you may think you're fat, too skinny, ugly, short, tall, dumb, weak, not worthy, not loved, not strong enough, not smart enough, not cared for, not beautiful. But you are enough, and so am I. Thank you.
All right, folks, now starts our question and answer section. And I asked our folks to think about a question first. I asked them to think about a metaphor for their writing process. So they're going to share that with us.
I couldn't come up with like a great answer for this, but you know how people always warn you that like you go to a party and someone's just gonna randomly inject you with drugs? It's like that, but with writing like inspiration for me. Like, I mean, I'm not at parties, I don't go to parties, but I mean, like, I'll just be chilling or something, and then like it's like someone jammed a syringe of inspiration. I don't know. This is a terrible metaphor, but I just get like random inspiration, and it, yeah.
I guess this is like a simile, but my writing style, I would say, is like lightning. It just kind of happens, and then it'll go away in bursts.
So I kind of just made mine up, but I think mine is like a river because it's constantly flowing, and I'm constantly like thinking about different ways that I could write about different things that I'm going through. So yeah.
Mine is, I guess, kind of like a tank of water with like a tiny hole at the bottom. Like I'll be stressed and have a bunch of pressure on me, and then I just start writing to get it out of my head.
Mine's a bowl of orange chicken and rice from Pan Express because it's really good. And it's like, so the meat part is like the main parts of my writing, and the rice is like the filler words, I guess.
So I'm thinking a joke. I already have an extended metaphor planned out here, but this small taste is I think writing is a bit like a burst, similar to a joke. You have a burst of creativity, of inspiration. These sort of just in a moment you get out onto a page or into the air with other people, and then sometimes looking back on it is a bit. Well, I think you've all reread your writing. You know how that sort of feels. So. I think it's similar with jokes, and it's they sort of work together, I think.
All right, so open up to you guys. What questions do you have for our folks up on stage? I know you're taking a lot of time to think it over for some good questions. That's awesome. Excellent, go ahead. you hope to pass your inspiration or the themes that you've talked about onto like your siblings or people around you?
When it comes to like sharing my writing, it's not like I like try to hit you over the head with the metaphor, but it's like little things that I'll try to, I don't know, it sounds like brainwashing, but when I'm writing, I try to strive for like, not like everything's like a perfect moral like paragon of virtue, but it's like this is a terrible answer, but like with your guys' pieces about like loving yourself and like if I'm writing characters doing something, I won't have them be like perfect, but if they make a mistake or something, then I want that to be in some indirect way, like a way for people to sort of learn from what my characters are doing, and then kind of try to understand how they can then apply that to themselves. Yeah.
So the question was sharing inspiration to like siblings and stuff. I think my sister's more creative than I am, so she kind of gives inspiration to me sometimes. But but as for like my writing itself, I'm usually kind of reluctant to share it. So, I mean, yeah, I guess both.
For me, I think that I really wanted to like inspire people with this, because I know that it's something like a lot of people deal with, and it's something that I was dealing with for a while and still do. And so I wanted to make sure that everyone knew like how much they're actually worth, and I think it's like an important message that everyone needs to hear sometimes. So.
For me, well, I wrote about my team, so I guess like that team has helped me so much, so I just wanted to capture like the spirit that I felt going into it so that I can try and create that same environment for people coming in now.
I don't really share my writing to like my family. Like my friends, yes, they encourage me about it a lot. And yeah, I don't really share with my family because they just don't like poetry. I don't know why.
So sort of ditto. I actually didn't tell my family I was going to be doing Writers Week, as of yet, even. So I might mention it later tonight, I guess. So yeah, I think the basis for inspiration is definitely more peer focused for me.
All right, so you all have seen some amazing things today. I'm going to need you to do me a favor, though. We are ending just a smidge before the bell's going to ring. So I need you all to do a favor for me and respect the hall monitors in the hallway, the student supervisors, for the 5-minute freeze, right? Linger on in here a little bit. Linger in the lounge area, right? And have a wonderful day. Thank you, you guys.
What's up, Fremd High School? How are you? Hey, that's a decent energy, but I'm going to tell you right now that yesterday, I'm going to tell you from having been here all day, and from conferring with a few English teachers, 7th hour had the best energy. Pressure on you to maintain that today, right? And I think a large part of it is when you're dialed in and paying attention up here. Because really, as much as you matter in our lives, and you do, the 6 wonderful ladies up here are a heck of a lot more important to you once they step on stage and they have this mic in front of you. So maybe put your phones down, take the earbuds out, give them your undivided and complete attention. Big thank you to our tech crew who's been rocking it out the first 2 days. If you know anybody that's been performing up on stage up here doing the music, please give them some love when you see them. They're fantastic. Everyone that we've had is really talented. With that being said, I will quit wasting your time and I will welcome to the stage and to the microphone my good friend Brooke.
Don't get your hopes up. Shout out to Mrs. Eng's 7th period class. You guys are so Thank you, I love you too. I hold 2 unpopular beliefs very near and very dear to my heart. Babies suck and Disney sucks. Whenever I share this information with a colleague or a friend, I'm often greeted by friction in our relationship. A fair portion of people don't mind babies or Disney. Some may even go as far as enjoying babies or Disney. I am here, however, to present why neither of these things are beneficial or enjoyable. First, babies are stupid and simply not practical. They can't walk when they're born and need constant care and attention to develop properly, unlike most animals. They don't do anything, they don't contribute to society or even pay taxes. Like, what's up with that? Until about 8 months of age, they don't realize that an object still exists when that object is removed from their line of sight. Idiots. They can't function on their own and don't understand the societal norm of saying thank you or even wearing clothes. One of the redeeming qualities of babies is their supposed tabula rasa, or blank slate. However, recent studies have begun to show that babies are born with an innate sense of right and wrong. While this new development is still being explored, we have a solid base of knowledge to make assumptions from. In summary, the research consisted of showing an infant some puppets doing good and bad things. The babies were then observed to see which puppet they preferred. While there are quite a few extraneous variables, such as how the baby was feeling that day or the attractiveness of the puppet, more than half the time the child preferred the puppet who did the good thing. So, babies aren't as impressionable as we thought, which might have been their one redeeming quality. Additionally, they are money pits. Simply stated, they are one of the worst decisions you can make financially. On average, a child will cost $233,000 by the time they're an adult at 18 years old. Your money would be better spent investing in the stock market. At least that way, you would get something in return. A baby only returns messes and banshee screeches because they're hungry. Infants are utter idiots and a pain to be around. Babies enjoy Disney. Their bright and colorful animations are hard to resist, but did you know that Disney destroyed the public domain in order to make more money? The public domain is a place where characters and stories go after a certain amount of time to be used by the public. This is why we can retell and remake the story of Snow White over and over again. She's so old that Snow is in the public domain, and now anyone can use her to express themselves creatively or make a profit. Mickey Mouse first appeared in 1923. He was scheduled to enter the public domain in the 1970s when stories were originally sent to enter after 56 years. The idea was that 56 years was long enough for the creator to make a fair profit of it and then allow their character to belong to everyone after they had made enough money to live quite comfortably. However, instead of letting this happen, Disney sued and extended the copyright law to 75 years. When the 1990s rolled around, surprise, surprise, Disney sued again and extended the law to 95 years so they can keep making a profit off of most of their characters. This means that Mickey will not enter the public domain until 2024, assuming Disney doesn't sue once again. Strange to think, So anything that is created in 2019 will not enter the public domain until 2114. Strange to think that most, if not all of us, will not live to see characters created this year be able to be used by the public. It's even less fun to watch a seemingly blissful Disney film, knowing that this corporation is doing all that they can to squeeze every last dime out of Mickey. While it's not necessarily an eloquent way to put it, babies are dumb, and so is the money-hungry Disney. Babies can't walk or even skateboard, and I find that absolutely atrocious. You may think I have no heart, but I promise it's in there, and it beats for the banishment of babies and the removal of Disney's greedy copyright laws. Thank you. Next up, we have Danielle Farag.
Hello, so just a quick little shout out to OD's AP Lang class. This is a piece that I've actually wanted to write for a while, but I just never got the chance to. So when I had to write an extra credit piece in English, I just knew I had to take that opportunity. This is the meaning of sugar. January 26, 2018. Just a normal Friday. I came home from school looking forward to a well-deserved rest. Or so I thought. I rang the doorbell and my dad opened the door. Sorry, but your grandpa passed away. Away, away, away. Echoes of that word flashed through my mind. I couldn't think clearly. I felt the tears come to my eyes and pour down my face. I cried myself to sleep that day. My grandpa lived all of his life in Egypt, and the last time I saw him, I was 6. Although I do not know much about him, I wrote this piece showing the stories told by those closest to him to learn more about him. Mom, the youngest daughter. The best time of the year for my mom was the 1 month that her dad would take off from his job as an eye surgeon. Every year, my mom looked forward to when she could spend quality time with her dad. Throughout that month of vacation, my grandpa would take his kids to the beach. He would pick the best apartment with the best view and would buy a brand new pool floaty for the kids every time they went. One day, my mom was relaxing on the inner tube in the Egyptian Ocean when she heard a loud, whiny sound coming from her left. She looked over and saw a medium-sized hole in a round inflatable. She reluctantly got up and dragged the deflated plastic to her dad. Noticing her, my grandpa looked up from reading the newspaper. When she told him what happened, her dad went off to buy another pool floaty without any complaints. My mom appreciated how her dad didn't want to ruin the time where he spent with his family the most. Over the years, she noticed that the couple of months before and after the vacation, her dad stayed at his private clinic longer than normal. When she went to ask him why he stayed later than normal, he said that he had more eye surgery appointments during that time. Grandpa purposely scheduled all of his operations out of the vacation month just so he could close his clinic to spend time with his family. My mom soon realized that her dad never complained when he had to spend more money or work longer because he was willing to sacrifice for his family. To her dad, family came first. Mimi, Grandpa's relative. In Egypt, there's a holiday called Shem el-Nessim, which is basically our Easter Monday. On that day, Egyptians eat rice and all kinds of seafood. Grandpa's family had a tradition of going on a Nile River boat to celebrate this holiday. One day, he invited his relative Mimi. Mimi met Grandpa at his house, and she went with the whole family to the Nile River where they would board the boat. Going on the boat for the first time, she was surrounded by the smell of the seafood, the breeze of the wind rising over the river waves, and the sight of the Nile River expanding into the horizon. When the boat was a comfortable distance away from shore, the waiters brought up platters of salad, rice, shrimp, herring, and all different types of seafood. Mimi was soon absorbed by the delicious food served before her and the atmosphere of her relative's family. Soon, the clinking of spoons against the plate and the conversation of other families faded into the background. She was focused on her relative and the stories he told. Her relative could capture anyone's attention at the table through his childhood stories full of description and emotion. She could see the joy and laughter that was prominent in this family. This would turn out to be one of the best days in her life. I don't remember much about my grandpa, but I do remember what he would always call me when I was talking to him on the phone. Zucker, the Arabic word for sugar. But to me, that word doesn't just represent how my grandpa was calling me sweet. It represents the love he had and still has for me. Even though he couldn't see me face to face, through that word, he was telling me that he would always be with me, even through the darkest of times and the times when I need comfort. He was telling me that he wished the best for me because he knew how talented I was. He was telling me that he loved me so much. Through that word, he was teaching me all of the lessons he taught his kids. To be determined, to work hard no matter what, and to enjoy the little things in life. I took that advice into my heart and have followed it ever since. My longing for him will never end, but I know that whatever my challenges or successes, my grandpa will always be my guardian angel. Thank you. Next up, we have Kaya Patel.
Hey guys, I'm Kaya. Shout out to Miss OD's AP Lang class. Remind me to pay you guys all tomorrow. Just kidding. All right, so this is a poem I wrote for my English class. We were doing a write battle between my friends and I, and they wrote about the past and the future, and I wrote about the present. And it's basically why the present is a present. Okay. Live in the present, for memories fade and memories haunt, chasing you into an abyss, consuming you with ghosts crammed in your paper-thin heart, scabby fingers and blood from nails, itching for an escape. Live in the present, for dreams entice and dreams seduce, a sensual whisper from the shadows. A blood-tipped razor-sharp mouth, smudged with the smoky gray ash of those who dare to hope. Yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is purely a vision. Time possesses the past, and worries devour the future. Respect the Lord of time. Acknowledge the rulers of what-ifs. Live in your truth, and live in it now. I also have another poem. So this one is based on George L. Lyon's poem Where I'm From, and it's essentially, I wrote it about like my Indian heritage. So you might not understand some of the references in here, but that's okay. I'm from walking on dirt roads, From arid summer days, the cool ice cream refreshing, but melting slowly. Drip, drip, drip. And from venturing out to find a lari, where I can eat pani puri, vada ba, and bhaji ba, to my heart's content. I am from bright minds, never done passing it on. I am from nakras, from not winning games, and from scheming to win at cards. Every time. I'm from sore nails playing carom. I'm from ogling the great, Bachchan, Malini, and Rekha, to singing old tunes never forgotten by the most melodious voices in the industry, Mangeshkar, Rafi, and Kumar. I'm from gazing into black and white screens. I've inherited many but different branches of the tree, memories and genes stored into the tree, waiting until the maple sap poured down as I emerged from the maple tree. Thank you.
Next up, Francesca King.
Hey guys. Shout out to OD's 7th hour AP Lang class. Francesca, you're a tryhard who always digs for attention. You're just mad because nobody will ever like you. He will never like you. You're worthless and annoying. Hey Francesca, I'm just calling to tell you, we don't like you. Bye. Although these words came through my phone a couple years ago, the words still disappoint me and make me feel less than who I really am. I used to be so disappointed in myself, and I felt the immense pain and hurt every single day. I still feel the pain the girl felt reading the messages. But when I was bullied, I remember walking through the halls and not knowing whether the whispers were about me, not knowing whether that glare or the rolling of the eyes was meant to be directed at me, not knowing whether people were somewhere having a good time, talking about me, while I was alone. I still think of the nights I stayed in my room, crying and feeling victimized. For about a couple of years, I struggled with being depressed all the time. A lot of people who go through some sort of bullying feel like they can't get out, and the emotions just carry with them forever. It led me to create stories about myself, and it led me to have even more insecurities. It changed who I was as a person. People who go through some sort of bullying want to remove the scars bullying created. This is a story on how I was able to heal my scars. As a 13-year-old, my mom forced me to go to a teen leadership camp in Oklahoma. I really did not want to go. Now, this camp is designed to help teens build a foundation in themselves to become their better self and to limit the negative stories being told about them. When camp arrived, I was anxious. I remember blood flowing through my head and my hands, and my heart beating at probably 1,000,000 miles per hour. I walked into camp, and I knew no one. Meeting new people who are a lot older than me was nerve-wracking, even for me, a major extrovert. I didn't want to meet someone who would just make me feel the isolation like I did back home. But it turned out the people were supportive, and they didn't judge or isolate anyone. Throughout the duration of camp, I learned how to be myself. I gained the knowledge that unforgiveness is like cancer. I had to let things go, especially the ones that are not creating a positive story in my foundation. As the mentor of the camp says, you can't walk towards your greatness. You can only walk away from it. Meaning that even though life can be quick and easy, we choose up how we show every day. This got me thinking that I shouldn't let the things people say about me impact who I am. I can't let them control me when I can choose the person I want to be. I realized that the person I want to be is someone who is confident and not someone who's suppressed all the time. This led me to be excited to go back to school and utilize everything I learned. I walked into school with my head high and proud instead of having my head down. I was taught that if I can't believe I can't be successful, I won't be. It's self-sabotage. We create the stories in our foundation, and we can produce the outcome. When rumors started going around about me, I was tested. I wanted to react. I wanted to point my finger and blame. But something I implemented was to think about the situation first and not to say, you did this, but instead say, I feel. I so badly wanted to blame. I thought it would make me feel better about the situation. I chose to not react, but to respond addressing how I felt. As my mentor says, you can either be right or you can be successful. We don't have to argue. It won't serve a purpose and make us feel any different. As I grow into the person I'm meant to be, I choose to live my life not reacting. Just letting it go makes it known that I don't care about what people think. The knowledge I gained from camp has shaped me into the strong, confident, friendly leader I am today, and I went and found some of the most valuable people in my life. If it wasn't for this camp, I'd be a depressed, lonely girl locked in her room every Friday night, feeling sorry for herself. Nothing and no one can take my greatness away from me, and I want you to know, there's nothing anyone can do to steal your greatness. Next up is Madeline Passek.
Shout out Mamula, 7th period. I did this piece for my creative writing class, and I was told I should do it for writers. So yeah. I was cartwheeling around in my basement with the feeling of anxiety in my stomach, while my two closest friends watched me impatiently. I felt beads of sweat rolling down my face as they exclaimed, "Dude, just tell us." Finally, I stopped moving and said in a meek voice, "I think I'm gay." Confusion crossed their faces. We were only 10 at the time. The word gay was fairly new. It seemed almost like a curse word. Expecting backlash, I felt relieved when I was instead met with the comment, "Okay, just don't get crushes on us." Still ashamed of what I admitted to them, I took back my statement the next day with a gleeful, "Great news, guys, I'm not gay," which was followed up by the question from my friend, "Did you take the gay test to make sure?" About 3 years later, at age 13, I started questioning my sexual orientation again in my Catholic school. Anger would constantly bubble up in me as my teacher would make such statements as, "Being gay goes against the word of God." And the anger would only subside after I fought with her about her and the church's views. The second time I ever said that I thought I was gay out loud was actually in a private discussion with this teacher, and as expected, it got uncomfortable very quickly. After about half a year, I once again brought this concept of being gay up to my mom, who said in her Slavic accent, "Maja, I don't think you are gay. This is just a phase you will grow out of." At this point, I stopped searching for an answer and accepted that I may never know what I am. Time went on. The epiphany hit me after school one day after randomly selecting and watching a movie called Blue is the Warmest Color. I didn't know at the time that this was a love story between a gay and a bisexual woman. After finishing the movie, something clicked in my brain. I finally felt like I had a category for my weird back and forth behavior of liking boys and girls. It made sense now that even though I liked the boy in my Catholic school under the cross, I liked the girl even more. The one word, bisexual, helped me navigate my way through having a girlfriend, then a boyfriend, and having periods of times when I only saw girls attractive and vice versa. This past summer, when I was 16 going on 17, I went to Pride Parade and had decidedly one of the best days of my life. Even on the way to the parade, I was making conversation with half-naked, glitter-covered ladies taking the same train as us. Our chanting of a song by the artist Cupcake got everyone up on the train up and moving. That meant people in pantsuits on the way to work, grumpy college students, and moms with their kids. There was a weird sense of unity on that blue line. Stepping off the platform, I flashed a proud smile and was met by a swarm of people in rainbow gear. I cheered with everyone around, even hugged and kissed boys and girls I'd never met before. Being there in that moment with my closest friends and people who had felt like I had once felt made me feel like I belonged there with twerking Spider-Man. In the end, I realized that being bi isn't that big of an ordeal as I thought it was, but it's still a title that I'm proud to have. Up next is Christina Chen.
Hi. First, I'd like to give a shout out to my 7th period English class. Okay. It's the the advice we all hear growing up. Don't talk to strangers, don't accept candy from strangers, and definitely don't, under any circumstances, get into a stranger's car. That's probably part of why hitchhiking is illegal in 4 US states. But don't worry, it's okay to hitchhike in Illinois as long as you don't stand in the middle of the road with your thumb out. I'm not sure if this information will ever get you out of a sticky situation, but it did come to my rescue on one sunny September afternoon in 2015. As a freshman on the swim team, I was a lot more scared of authority than I am now. Back then, I thought that showing up late to practice would result in terrible consequences, from getting pushed into the pool to getting executed French Revolution style at the blade of a guillotine. If that were the case, I would have lost at least 15 heads at this point, considering the number of practices that I've missed in the past 4 years. But you can probably imagine how terrified freshman Christina was when she ran out of scholastic practice, carrying a swim bag, a school bag, and her bright pink flute case, hurrying down the stairs into the pool entrance, only to find no one there. I'd missed the bus to a swim meet. You're probably thinking, Christina, if you had a meet that day, you shouldn't have gone to scholastic practice. You're right. I shouldn't have gone to scholastic practice. I should have waited for the bus like the rest of the team and got on the bus to the meet like everyone else. But freshman Christina was as much a stubborn overachiever as she was afraid of her swim coaches. If she wanted to participate in 20 minutes of scholastic practice and make it to her swim meet on time, that's what she was going to do. Unfortunately, the case of the missing school bus made it very difficult for her to get to the meet. I paced the hallway outside the gym. I contemplated calling my parents, but both of them worked too far away to bring me to the meet on time. I asked school bus drivers waiting outside if I could please have a limited edition VIP one-person ride on their yellow limousine. The answer was a sympathetic no. I began to wonder, what's the worst that could happen if I just missed this one meet? But as the image of Mrs. Newby's awe-inspiringly fearsome, angry face came to mind, I shook my head. I had to get that meet. There was no other option. I thought about it. The meet was at Palatine High School, where we practiced while the new front pool was being constructed. My mom drove me there 5 times a week, and the car ride rarely took more than 15 minutes. I could probably get to Palatine in less than an hour if I walked, right? Wrong. But I wasn't thinking very clearly when I decided to do it anyway, walking out from the main entrance, ready to set off on my personal odyssey. When I finally stumbled into Palatine's pool, my face was wet with tears and sweat. When Mrs. Newby asked me how I'd gotten to the meet, if my mom had given me a ride, I couldn't stop crying. So my wonderful, Swathalicious friend, Swathi Karthikeyan, told her, no, she ran. But as is probably evident by this whole story, and as I eventually told Swathi, as admirable and superhuman as it would have been, it was physically impossible for me to have gotten to Palatine on time by foot. You might be able to guess what actually happened. After leaving friends, I really did walk, all the way across the parking lot. And a little farther than that, I crossed Quinton and trudged along the sidewalk on the other side, tears beginning to gather. I made it to Pleasant Hill, where I observed the last of the buses and cars leave the elementary school until just one person remained, Salvation in a neon yellow vest. It was the crossing guard. I've explained freshman Christina's thought process to my concerned friends and family dozens of times to reassure them that I'll never solicit rides from strangers again. I thought, hey, if the crossing guard at an elementary school wanted to kidnap little kids, she would have done it a long time ago. She wouldn't need a random high schooler to come and ask her for a ride, so there was no way she would kidnap me. So I asked her for a ride. Seeing how I was sweaty and crying and already saying thank you, the crossing guard complied. She had another job that she needed to be at in 20 minutes, so she could only drive me part of the way. But to this day, when I did the unthinkable and voluntarily got into a stranger's car, it's still the nicest thing that anyone has ever done for me. And she was a complete stranger. I'm not saying this makes it okay to approach any stranger and ask for a ride. But if she hadn't helped me that day, it would have been a lot harder to explain to my swim coach why I wasn't at the meet. The compassion that she showed me may have prevented one small disaster, but it left a huge impact on the freshman Christina. Even though you're never obligated to help people you don't know, I hope that you do. Because whether you help a neighbor you've never talked to shovel their snow, or hold the door for more people than you need to, you might make a friend out of a stranger, or at least make someone's day a little easier. My first, and hopefully only hitchhiking experience was a positive one. And if you ever come across a crying kid desperate for a ride, I hope you choose to be a kind stranger and make their first, and hopefully only hitchhiking experience a positive one too. Thank you.
Give him one more round of applause. I feel compelled. Shout out to my 7th hour sports lit. Every time they gave one of your 7th hours a shout out, I got glares, so I just felt like I needed to. Do we have somebody else that wants to share?
Hello. So I wrote this last week. It's titled To Him. Okay. You made me feel I was invisible, altering how I treated myself and others, making me feel like trash and hating the person staring back at me. You had me fooled, playing with my emotions, had me thinking you actually cared. You made me feel meaningless, talking about me as if I was no one, as if I had no feelings whatsoever. You made me think about how grateful I am for you, for teaching me to not care about what anyone says. You made me realize who my friends really were, who made me feel like I was beautiful inside and out. You are the best, worst thing that has ever happened to me, but I wouldn't be the same without you.
This is a parody of the poem We Real Cool by Gwendolyn Brooks. We French fries. The last few left, 7 in the oily carton. We French fries. We slick guys. We spuds once, we now lunch. We grease failed, we diet failed. We junk fumed, we consumed.
Hi guys, it's me again. Okay, so some of you may have already heard this poem, but it's kind of funny, so let's try to get some laughs out of you today. All right. Shall I compare you to a winter's day? But you are twice as cold and half as bright. It's for your life that I must stay away. And when I see your face, I lose all sight. I'd rather spend a year in freezing cold than spend a minute with you by the flame. And if you think that I am being bold, then I've got more to add to shame your name. And you're like the slush beneath my shoes. When next to snow, you will not be as clean. And frankly, you don't even have a clue. Behind that view, you're just an angsty teen. Bow down to me and please accept defeat, for even winter knows when to retreat. Thanks.
Do you have any questions for our panel at all? Yes. I'll go ahead and bring her the mic. Go ahead.
Have you ever thought about submitting that
okay. That's a great idea. We're gonna get in touch. You're gonna be my publicist. Thanks. No, we're not gonna do that. Okay. Well, I'll think about it. Okay, I'll let you know. That's a good idea. I could probably make a lot of money off of it. Yeah.
Is that about someone?
Oh, yeah. Danny, you wanted your shout out? Here it is. That's for you, boys.
Any other questions for our panel? What do you got? This is for Christina. Did you ever consider defriending? Oh, befriending. Okay. Christina?
I guess. I was kind of in denial that it happened. That's why everyone like thought I ran for a good like month. But I guess it would be nice if I ever go over to Pleasant Hill, try to catch the crossing guard.
Anybody else? We got 5 minutes, so you got to fire out some questions here. Oh, what do you got? The question is, what made you want to share?
Well, in creative writing, we had to like write a personal piece, and for workshop, which is like when your entire class reads your piece. So I was like, it's my senior year, I might as well come out, and I might as well do it for Writers Week, so like everybody knows. So yeah, that's what made me do it.
What you got?
Well, it started off, it was just kind of like annoying, and like I work at a pool, and over the summer they would just have like a Disney playlist and be like over and over and over, and I just like could not take it anymore. And then I saw this like article about how they like destroyed the public domain, and I was like, this is perfect, because now I have like concrete like evidence other than just it irritates me. So yeah.
I think my favorite part is that's the question you came out with about her story about hating babies and Disney, but whatever. What you got? Oh, there it is.
I hate both of them, and it wasn't long enough if I just talked about babies.
Okay, right there. She said, do babies look like baked potatoes, basically. Yes, ma'am. What? She asked, like, does she struggle with...
Yeah, I get this question all the time, actually, and like, no. Because I was nasty, and I'm sure I was nasty, I just don't remember it because my brain wasn't developed enough to like do anything. So no, I was probably pretty lame as a kid, so thank you.
Right there, green.
If someone offered you $100 to see Boss Baby, would you do it?
That is a really, really good question. I think I would do it. I'd probably cry the whole time, but $100 is $100, so.
In fairness to that question, Boss Baby is a baby that actually is productive. So one might argue it's conflict, but. Also an animated film. I promised I'd come back over here. Last one. The white vest, I thought you had a question. No? Okay. All right, right over there. With the hairband on her wrist. Or not. I did not hear that. Who is this for? Anyone or me?
Well, I have like my really good friends and like my family who I can always go to, and like, yeah, they like are always there for me, I guess, and I can like talk to them about anything, and like I trust them, so.
You've been a great audience. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.